I can't really remember a time when game journalists were actually popular. Now, the only reason game journalism became a thing was for information. Like, you wanted information about newer games that are coming out, new consoles, new game mechanics coming out, but people never really, like, jumped the shit over games journalists. But nowadays, people just pretty much wipe their ass with anything game journalists say, like here about IGN. And nice that there's a Best Buy fucking ad right in the top of the screen. Much of Gen Z wants less sex on screen. New studies find. And this is complete horseshit. And I'm going to tell you why later. Today's teens and youth adults may be shying away from the media with sexual content, as a new study shows that nearly half of Gen Z viewers want to see less sex on screen. I mean, no, but there's many ways to go about this. The Center of the Scholars and Storytellers at UCLA, what the fuck? Published a new teen and screens report Wednesday, gathering data from 1,500 members of Gen Z. That seems like a very small sample size. What they want to see in media, they consume, rather their screen of choice is a TV or a smartphone, according to studies. 51.5% of adolescents ranging from ages 10 to 24 want to see content that puts more emphasis on friendships and platonic relationships than romantic relationships, especially romantic relationships involving sex. Okay, so if you're asking what 10-year-olds if they want to see sex, that's one, fucking weird. Two, well, I mean, of course, I mean, again, I always go back to when I grew up watching shows. Like, very few of them actually had, like, sex. I mean, they had romantic relationships, right? So they had this, but they didn't really have much of this. I mean, again, let's go back to older Disney movies, right? Like, that's my phone. Like the what the fuck's going on with my phone? Who's blowing the fuck out of my phone? Like the was it the Beauty and the Beast or Aladdin or even The Lion King? Like these shows, these movies had relationships and romantic relationships, but they didn't really have. I mean, they're kids shows. They didn't have sex. And most people were fine with that. I mean, that's what made Disney popular. It's what their brand was. The idea of you had the Disney magic per se. And even going to anime nowadays, like anime is a perfect example. Like they show very little sex, or if none at all. They don't even really show characters kissing or hugging. But they do show like fan service. Like this game right here. This ad is for a game that's literally nothing but fucking fan service. Interestingly, 47.5. Again, they only did 1,500 members. So I don't understand. This isn't really much of a sample size. I mean, of these 1,500 members of Gen Z, they can say 55% of the adolescents, but it's like 51% of 50. It's just weird how they're doing this. Interestingly, 47.5% of young people say that sex isn't necessary. for the plot of most TV shows and movies. Well, yeah, I agree. I mean, again, really, you can have a romance story without any of this. I think it's fine. All 44 of the three of them feel that romance in media is overused, especially heterosexual romances. But why that in particular? Like, why heterosexual romance in particular? I mean, that's what most people are into. I mean, again, they're viewing this as, oh, because one thing is being overused, that means another thing is suffering. And I'm just like, no, maybe the market is okay with this. But just because the market's fine with this doesn't mean they want anything else to suffer. It's just weird. The responses are based on studies showing an endemic of loneliness among teenagers and teens, having less sex than their parents did at their age, and most current programs don't reflect that. Well, I mean, what am I gonna say? Yeah, I guess if in certain situations you're forced to be locked up indoors, you're forced to be self isolated for situations I'm not going to point out now, but if you know, you know. Yeah, I mean, I guess most people are like this. Like, again, the whole working from home thing. I mean, for people with families, that's fine, but people that live alone, it's like, yeah, you're gonna have this. And I mean, you've always had this, but again, I'm not going to get all into this fucking video. Whatever. Well, it's true that adolescents want less TV, less sex on TV. No, again, I guess they don't like, say, the 50 Shades of Grey style or the Euphoria style. But again, the problem is you if you have, again, back Euphoria's five whatever the fuck Shades of Grey, that's fine. Like the bear sex scene in Baldur's Gate 3 is fine. But God forbid an anime does that, because then it'll be shut down immediately. The problem is there are different standards for different type of artistic expression. At least that's the problem for me. And above that, I mean, most people don't really watch. Like, again, more and more people are moving to, like, to anime or moving to VTubers. Like, VTubers are absolutely popular nowadays. Like, I think some VTubers are more popular than, like, actors or actresses that exist today. Like, and it's to the point where the only way actresses and actors can be popular is if they are controversial, they're vitriolic towards their consumers, the people that put food on the table, and the companies are fine with that because they're like, oh, it gives us clicks, keep pissing them off. And again, people are just not getting pissed off, right? People are turning away from Western TVs and Western movies, and they're turning towards other forms of media. There were other things that the study participants called out negatively as well, particularly toxic relationships and racial stereotypes. Again, but this is just the human experience, right? I mean, art isn't just meant to make you feel good. I mean, they're made with human intuition, human understanding, and again, human action in mind. Unfortunately, these things exist, and you can't shame this out of people, as well as played out romantic tropes. Again, you can't shame this out of society because people just shut their ears off to you and be like, oh, well, shut the hell up. But again, art isn't always meant to be. Oh, it's not always meant to subvert your expectations. Like some things are meant to be toxic relationships. Some things are meant to be racial stereotypes. As unfortunate as it is, that's how humans think, right? The person who's writing this art, the people who write on IGN, thinks in stereotypes. So I don't understand. Like, okay, maybe there's stereotypes you don't like, but you also stereotype. Still, there are other shows that participants named as positive friendships and platonic relationships, like Barbie, Stranger Things, and Heartstopper. Like, why these very few current day things that just came out? Like, why these movies only? That just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know. Let's read the comics. Who the fuck? Fuck. I wish they would post sample size and demographics of said study as they're irrelevant. I think someone that age that takes the time to respond to this survey might be skewed towards a certain response. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure they're like, oh, do you not think this? Do you not think that? Do you not think this should be? Yeah, exactly. Like, they should mark the demographic of these people. Like, usually if you go to like an older generation, one, they don't really care about, the fact that there's a lot of heterosexual romances or, you know, toxic relationships and racial stereotypes because again, these things exist. So fiction's going to portray that. It's like this South Park fucking show right here about how they replace all the characters with, well, the new current day modern stereotype of women with different races. Like, this is social commentary. And the social commentary is against the fact that they replaced well established characters with current day woke tropes. Like that's the point. I mean, media is always a reflection of the culture it's made in. We have absolutely no idea if this was a representative sample at all. So I would take these results with a gigantic grain of exactly. They're like, and again, it's just 1,500 people, and out of these 1,500 people, they say, oh, 47.5% of all young people say that sex isn't necessary for the plot of most TV shows. And rather that may be true or not, again, they only asked 1,500 people. But again, it's just weird. Again, I'm wiping my whole ass with this because I don't trust a single thing IGN says. They can kiss every inch of my ass, but I mean, just based off this alone, it's like, people are just moving away from Western entertainment in particular and moving towards other forms of entertainment. I mean, but yeah, that's all I gotta say about this. See ya.